One, a shattered mind in the body of an indestructible god. The other, a mere figment of an imagination that began to have a dream of his own. The battle no one asked for. But let's be honest, nobody wanted cigarettes before SpongeBob came down from Mount Sinai and showed the holy "Behold the Newport!" In this video, we will analyze the strength, speed, and abilities of Homelander and Super Scott to determine who would emerge victorious in a clash of cannons. Homelander was the first successful Vought International soup, created in a lab and raised in isolation. His motivations are rooted in a deep-seated need for love and admiration. Twisted by his upbringing and a sense of entitlement and superiority, Homelander's philosophy is one of absolute dominance. He believes himself to be above humanity and acts accordingly. His fighting style is aggressive and often brutal, relying on overwhelming force and heat vision to win. Homelander's powers originate from Compound V, a powerful experimental serum administered to him as an infant, granting him a wide range of superhuman abilities. Super Scott is a powerful hero from the Hero Inside universe. You might ask yourself, what the hell even is this show? Why would I care about this guy and his strength? Who even is this person? And what I would say to you is silence, heathen, and behold the aura of a destructive god.
Let's just say I'm the person you need the most right now.
In the name of my father, I shall strike you down with mighty lightning!
If that 30 seconds of pure, unfiltered aura wasn't enough to explain why you should care about this character, let me explain a little bit about the TV show he comes from. Hero Inside is a South Korean, Chinese, Thai, and Vietnamese animated action comedy series about a cartoonist named Scott, not the same Scott, mysteriously vanishes, and his 100 unpublished comics are scattered across San Francisco for people to find. But these aren't ordinary comics. Reading them aloud and invoking the name of the hero brings the heroes to life. The series follows Mike, an ordinary teen whose life is turned upside down when he accidentally summons Crying Man. Super Scott is the main antagonist of the series, an anti-hero of sorts, one who believes he alone knows the path of justice. Super Scott's background and motivations are tied to his strong sense of justice and order, made in the image of his creator with the sole purpose to save lives and be a hero. Seeing that even with the totality of his actions, he still can't save everyone. He begins to gain an understanding that him alone will save everyone in his way. Super Scott's philosophy seems to revolve around enforcing his idea of what's right, often through overwhelming power. His actions indicate a belief in decisive and impactful force. His fighting style is characterized by explosive power and incredible speed. The origins of Super Scott's power isn't explicitly detailed, but he is presented as inherently possessing super strength, speed, and other powers similar to like a Superman or a Homelander. Laser vision, enhanced hearing, senses, all of the, classic combos. But now, let's break down each of their individual powers and abilities, seeing which one is gonna win the clash of cannons. Homelander, possessing immense strength capable of lifting tens of thousands of pounds and overwhelming other soups with ease. His punches can deliver significant force. He was able to be shown to lift a fighter jet with ease and fling it across a room. While the exact weight of the jet isn't specified, even a small private jet can weigh several tons. This feat, performed with apparent ease, suggests his true lifting capacity is far beyond what we've seen. If we consider his ability to stop a 300-ton plane with significant effort, and then see him casually throw a multi-ton jet, it's plausible that his lifting strength could be possibly reach tens of thousands of tons. Super Scott. Although we haven't seen Super Scott explicitly lift an extremely heavy object, he exhibits strength when capable of generating massive explosions and shockwaves with a single punch, comparable to large bombs. Speed and flight. Homelander consistently flies at around supersonic speeds, covering hundreds of miles in minutes, requiring speeds exceeding Mach 2 or 3. His reaction speed is also superhuman, allowing him to intercept projectiles. In some instances, he appears to be moving at hypersonic speeds. Super Scott moves at speeds described as faster than lightning. He was shown the ability to speed blitz and one-tap a character named Sparkules that is based off lightning, placing him at hypersonic ranges and potentially far exceeding Homelander's speed. Not to mention, Super Scott scales off of other characters in the Hero Inside universe, much like Homelander does in his universe, due to statements that he is the strongest superhero. Other characters in the verse have been shown to be able to statue other characters with raw speed alone, demonstrating almost unquantifiable speed durability. In the animated spin-off, The Boys Diabolical, Homelander survives a point-blank explosion estimated to be around 43 tons of TNT. In quantifiable terms, 1 ton of TNT is equivalent to about 4.148 joules of energy. And if you ever get confused about gigajoules, megajoules, sigma joules, omega joules, then just think of them as power levels, you know? So, I mean, if I can punch you with 10 gigajoules and you can only punch me with 4 gigajoules, I'm stronger than you. I mean, it's a simple way of thinking of it. So if you get confused, just keep that in mind. Homelander surviving the explosion without significant injury demonstrates the ability to absorb or resist nearly 180,000 megajoules of energy. Withstanding the energy release provides a stark, quantifiable measure of Homelander's explosive durability. This feat places his resilience far beyond surviving conventional bombs or artillery. To ensure such immense energy release suggests a level of durability that would likely allow him to survive much larger conventional explosions, and potentially even withstand the effect of smaller tactical nuclear weapons. Although that remains speculative within the show's canon, this feat reinforces the status of one of the most durable beings in his universe. Super Scott. Durability isn't explicitly quantified, but it's implied to be high. While Super Scott was fighting a character named Mr. Justice, he punched him 100 times. Mr. Justice was able to absorb and redirect the punches into a single blow. Although this did defeat Super Scott, he didn't seem to be too damaged and simply got absorbed back into his comic. We will get into how hard Super Scott can punch a little later in the video, but just keep in mind that Super Scott was heavily nerfed in this battle since his reader was an old woman. Although it's not explicitly stated, we can heavily infer that a hero's strength is directly affected by the strength of the reader and their imagination. We know this because while Mr. Justice was being controlled by an older woman, he was barely able to fight off 3 raccoons. But when he was being controlled by arguably one of the strongest or highest potential readers in the verse, Mike, we know this because he was one of the only characters shown to be able to control 5 heroes at once, which was stated to be near impossible. While being controlled by Mike, he was able to go toe-to-toe with one of the strongest heroes in the verse, attack potency. Homelander's heat vision can melt steel and vaporize targets with energy outputs comparable to focused explosives. His physical strikes can also carry significant force. The ability to melt steel requires temperatures upwards of 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, around 1,300 degrees Celsius. Homelander's heat vision achieves this with apparent ease and speed, suggesting the beam's temperature significantly higher than the melting point of steel. Estimating the energy output of this heat vision is challenging without specific scientific measurements within the show's universe. However, the sheer speed and efficiency which he melts and vaporizes materials suggests a power output in the megajoule range per burst, and potentially much higher for sustained or more intense blasts. This level of energy, if released explosively, would be comparable to a detonation of several pounds of TNT. The focused nature of the beam concentrates this energy into a small area, allowing for precise, devastating cutting or melting. Super Scott generated explosive force comparable to large conventional bombs. His speed also contributes to the impact of his attacks. He also shows the ability to use laser vision, similarly to Homelander, using it to cut a truck in half. Not only did he do this effortlessly, he did it with finesse, cutting the truck without killing the people inside. Unlike Homelander, who condemned a plane full of people to death because he was unable to do so. Although we don't have a way of comparing their heat directly, we know they're somewhat comparable due to the fact that they're both able to melt steel with ease. We haven't really seen Super Scott test the limits of his abilities, so we could probably just say that somewhat even and comparable. While fighting Mr. Justice, one of Super Scott's first moves was a direct punch. This punch was shown to have enough force to create a massive explosion, casually. This is a highly speculative estimate as we're dealing with fictional scenarios and lack of precise scientific data within the video. However, we can use some physical principles to make an educated guess on how much force this blast was. Let's assume that the shockwave and visual effects above San Francisco Bridge were significant, perhaps several hundred meters in diameter. However, given the fictional context, we might be dealing with energy far beyond. Let's speculate that the energy released was equivalent to a small localized explosive, perhaps in the range of few tons of TNT equivalent. 1 TNT is equivalent to around 4.14 joules of energy. If we roughly estimate that the explosion was around 5 tons, it would be 5 times that. It's tricky to directly convert the energy of an explosive measured in TNT equivalent to a force exerted by a single punch. The biggest unknown, let's assume a highly unrealistic realistic scenario where a significant fraction of the explosion energy, 1%, is directly transferred into kinetic energy during the punch. A punch that somehow resulted in a 5-ton TNT equivalent explosion might involve the average force in the order of hundreds of millions of pounds. Homelander, cunning and manipulative, but also can be prone to emotional outbursts and arrogance in battle. On the contrary, Super Scott seems to be extremely calm and collected, possessing high intelligence and manipulative abilities, suggesting strategic thinking in combat. Homelander possesses immense strength, supersonic flight, hypersonic reactions, and devastating heat vision. His durability is also significant. Quantifiable feats place his strength in the tens of thousands of tons, and his heat vision with energy output comparable to focused explosives. Super Scott's key advantage appeared to be his explosive strength, capable of creating destruction on a massive scale with a single punch, and his speed, which was stated to be minimum faster than light, and the highest near immeasurable, for sure far exceeding Homelander's speed. While his durability isn't explicitly quantified, his ability to withstand a force he generates with his own attack suggests a high level of resilience. His intelligence and manipulative abilities could also play a large role. Based off this analysis, Super Scott is the likely winner. His superior speed would likely allow him to evade Homelander's attacks and deliver devastating blows. The explosive force of his punch seemed to exceed Homelander's raw physical strength, and his speed advantage would make it difficult for Homelander to even perceive what's going on. In conclusion, Super Scott claps his cheeks without prejudice. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, do me a favor, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a subscribe. This is a newer channel, so every like is like imagine you're trying to shoot a spaceship into space, right? You could either have gasoline, which is kind of mid-fuel, or you can have the comments of a supporting fan base, which is like millions of pounds of gasoline condensed into a small orb. Each one of those orbs is one of your comments, and you energize me to go to the heights of victory. And by victory, I mean making hella bread on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.